Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, November 4th, 2019. Thank you for tuning in for our evening edition of the Grand Solar Minimum News Update. Let's get right at it. Our solar wind speeds are sitting at a 371.3 kilometers per second with a density of 2.1. Again, no spots today. That's the first day, as we had minor sunspots from the weekend. AR 2751 developed in the northern part of the star, and that was a very, very short-lived sunspot. Now, there was a region also that was in the southern part of the star that never got numbered, but it was a member of solar cycle 25. However, the sunspot that did get labeled as AR 2751, well, that sunspot was definitely a member of the old solar cycle 24. Our TCI is coming in at 4.22, and our KP is right now sitting at a 1 with a 24-hour max of a 2. So not a lot going on in the space weather department right now. In fact, if you go to SPACEWEATHER.com, it'll tell you that they are not expecting any major coronal holes in the next 7 days or so. So we should see some lower solar wind here in the next few days. It's been a while since we have had a blank sun where we didn't have any sunspots to talk about or any large coronal holes turning towards Earth. Let's go ahead and go to SPACEWEATHER.com real quick. One to talk about in just 1 week until the transit of Mercury, one of the biggest astronomy events of the year, just 1 week away. The transit of Mercury. On Monday, November 11th, Mercury will pass directly in front of the Sun. The rare transit begins at 12:35 UT. That's 7:35 a.m. Eastern Time and lasts for almost 6 hours. Mercury's tiny form, jet black and perfectly round, will glide slowly across the solar disk like this. Pretty neat little graphic here. People in every continent except Australia can see at least a portion of the crossing. In the USA, the best place to be is on the Atlantic coast, where the entire transit will be visible. On the Pacific coast, the transit will already be in progress at sunrise. Warning, do not stare at the sun during the transit. Mercury covers only a tiny fraction of the solar disk, so the sun remains as bright as ever. Eye damage can occur. Ordinary eclipse glasses will keep your eyes safe, but they won't do much to help you see tiny Mercury. The planet is only one of a 1/94th of the sun's apparent diameter. To watch this event, safely filtered telescope with a magnification of 50 times or more is recommended. Don't have a filter? No problem. Images of the transit may be easily projected onto a wall or screen through an unfiltered telescope. Just do not look through the eyepiece. And again, just amazing footage here. No, that is not a stellar core, folks. That is Mercury moving across the sun, but nonetheless, a very rare transit, and just wanted to report on that because I thought it was space weather newsy for us. But also the sun being mentioned on here twice, that we are at a deep solar minimum. Things are going to be quiet up here at the top and down here at the bottom if you guys look down here. Right below where the SDO is. So, before we went on the air tonight, we did have two strong earthquakes. One 6.6 now magnitude. Now that came off as actually a 6.9 when it first registered at 22:43 UTC. There was no tsunami warning or any kind of structural damage that we are aware of at this time. News was pretty fresh not too long ago. And then also shortly after that, now we've seen aftershocks of 5.5 and 4.9 in Tonga. We also had a 6.0 earthquake that happened in Chile, right across the pond, literally, from this strong 6.9 in Tonga. So if you guys can see the screen here, this was the area, the region of the 6 point now downgraded to a 6.6. And then right before that, about an hour before, we saw earthquakes up and down directly across from each other. 6.0 here in Chile. So definitely some activity to keep our eyes on. Right now, we have not heard any reports of injuries, deaths, or damage. Of course, when it comes from these parts of the world, time does take it does take a little bit of time to get the information across. The earthquakes that we saw last week took about 3 days before we finally got an update on what actually happened out there. Ferocious windstorm leaves over 900,000 without power in Quebec. Now, this happened on November 1st, which was the day after the Halloween storm that we got here in the Northeast. So we had lots of damage after that power, lots of people without power, but almost 1 million people without power here with this particular storm. Over 3,800 Hydro-Quebec customers experienced power outages at 2,200 local time, including 50,000 customers on the island of Montreal. Trudeau Airport in Devore City, Montreal registered gusts as high as 65 miles per hour before the winds began to die down late in that day. Hydro-Quebec crews have started working through the night and would be still repairing down power lines through next week. About 100 line workers have been also working to restore service. Lots of damage, lots of work to be done. Over 980,000 people without power in Quebec from this storm alone. So, which makes you wonder a little bit too. This storm might have been a little bit gustier winds. I don't know. We had areas reporting 60, 75, and even 85 mile per hour winds. But we were talking about, as of Sunday, November 3rd, Hydro-Quebec's president said that the number of customers without power will drop to less than 100,000, which it did. One man was killed and almost 1 million homes and businesses were without power across Quebec following a windstorm on Friday, as the province's hydro utility warned it could take several days to fully restore a grid. Yeah, so 980,000 people went without power in Quebec from this storm that we had on Halloween. So just to kind of give you a follow-up of that system that brought, and not only that, but it has brought a strong cold front through the lower 48 that is continuing to see some pretty cold temperatures here, and we'll go over that here in a little bit. But I want to also talk about Storm Emily hits France, Spain, and Italy, leaving over 140,000 homes without electricity. So many storms we had here over the last several days that's knocking out power worldwide. Violent winds brought by Storm Emily hit France's Atlantic coast over the weekend, producing large waves, causing traffic chaos, uprooting trees, and leaving some 140,000 households without electricity. Winds in excess of 100 miles per hour hit parts of the region, forcing emergency services to respond to hundreds of calls. It says Gironde and Lens recorded winds of 101 miles per hour, as Bordeaux also as high as 75 miles per hour. Dozens of people were evacuated, 47 in Land's department, 9 were injured, although reports over the weekend mentioned no casualties. Sad news came from Nika this morning, where one elderly woman had died in a landslide. Southern France was also affected by mostly rain. More than 24 motorists had to be rescued as their cars got stuck in the deluge. And lots of footage to go over here at the Watchers.news. Emily also affected northern parts of Spain and Italy on November 3rd. A number of families were forced to evacuate from a village in Siesta Gadano. Check out Watchers.news for any updates on these storms. And right now, casualties and injuries are at a minimal from the storm as well. On the U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. Today, the United States began the process to withdraw from the Paris Agreement. Per the terms of the agreement, the United States submitted formal notification of its withdrawal to the United Nations. The withdrawal will take effect from delivery of the notification within 1 year. As noted in his June 1st, 2017 remarks, it says here that President Trump made the decision to withdraw from the Paris Agreement because of the unfair economic burden imposed on American workers, businesses, and taxpayers by the U.S. pledges made under the agreement. The United States has reduced all types of emissions, even as we grow our economy and ensure our citizens access to affordable energy. Our results speak for themselves. U.S. emissions of criteria air pollutants that impact human health. And that's important that the state.gov mentions the impacts of human health and the environment declined between 74% between 1970 and 2018. U.S. net greenhouse gas emissions dropped 13% from 2005 through 2017, even as our economy grew over 19%. The U.S. approach incorporates the reality of the global energy mix and uses all energy sources and technologies cleanly and efficiently, including fossil fuels, nuclear energy, and renewable energy. International climate discussions we will continue to offer a realistic, pragmatic model backed by a record of real-world results, showing innovation in open markets lead to greater prosperity, fewer emissions, and more secure sources of energy. We will continue to work with our global partners to enhance resilience to the impacts of the climate change and prepare for and respond to natural disasters. Just as we have in the past, the United States will continue to research and innovate and grow our economy while reducing emissions and extending a helping hand to our friends and partners around the globe. So for those of you out there who follow what happens on Twitter and all that stuff with Donald Trump, him and the California government are kind of at each other's throats right now. And pretty much the California governor is telling Donald Trump to dismiss himself from the discussion on climate change because he does not believe in climate change. And simply, what I gathered from this article here from the United States Department of State, this is on their official website, is that they're ready and they're changing and adapting for natural climate change, and that they're continuing to innovate, and they are also seeking to create cleaner emissions. But nothing in here talks about the climate. Now, we have a wonderful video, and I'll have to have Mari link it to this video as well, but it talks about why Donald Trump pulled us out of the Paris Agreement. We will leave that linked in our description. That way you guys can watch and understand why, just exactly why we are moving ourselves out of this Paris Agreement. And if I could, I'll describe it the smallest way possible, and that is basically the IPCC is developed a way to tax the world on carbon. And for those countries who do not want to meet these goals and these expectations of lowering emissions, you will get a get-out-of-jail-free card by paying what is called a carbon tax. Now, these have been around for a while now. But let's think about this, folks. The IPCC will allow countries and continents to produce high levels of pollutants in the atmosphere from industrial factories and whatnot, as long as you pay the fee. But yet this treaty is called the Paris Climate Agreement, which it's supposed to affect or impact results that will help climate and climate change. Now, we all know that man does not change the climate. It is a natural cycle that happens. And the reason why that this really solidifies what we're saying about man does not cause climate change, because if the IPCC really believed that, they wouldn't allow anybody to produce excess pollution into our atmosphere for any reason whatsoever. If this was a dire emergency like they say we are at right now, if this really is so extreme and we're in an emergency and a crisis, they wouldn't allow it for any cost whatsoever. So when you see that the United States government is officially withdrawing us from this agreement, it's going to take about a year to be completely out of it. I want you to watch the video that we linked to this show, why Donald Trump pulled us out of the Paris Treaty. And it'll show you this little scheme that's being run by the IPCC that is making money on carbon credits, regulations, and guess who footed the bill to pay these 190 countries around the world to participate in this agreement? That's right, folks. The IPCC used its influence to pressure the United States and its government officials to come up with a slush fund of about $100 billion and pay out these countries to stay in this agreement. Now, we've mentioned this before in previous episodes where Iran was one of the first countries that wanted to back out because they hadn't seen a payment yet. Again, they couldn't get 193 countries to sign this without paying them. That's what this really all comes down to. This looks fancy on paper, but when you get into the nitty-gritty of the details of this agreement, the United States was footing the bill, pretty much. And Donald Trump said, whoa, 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 we're not going to let our taxpayers pay for this, basically, for this nonsense agreement that lowering CO2 emissions will change the climate. Trump and his administration believes in natural cycles, just like most of us here that are following this channel. Everything happens in cycles. It's natural. The sun impacts the climate. Man has a role, but it is so small. It's very small. So we don't deny climate change. We deny the science on the climate change. Trump doesn't believe that man is causing climate change. That's a fair assessment of his opinion and ours as well. So I just wanted to share that. Meanwhile, while we're not in that Paris Treaty, this is another example of, again, if CO2 was so bad for the planet, then we wouldn't see things like first UK deep coal mine in decades to go forward. So we have a new coal program happening here. Plans for the UK's first deep coal mine in decades will go ahead after government decided not to intervene. West Cumbria Mining said the new mine near the site of the former Hague Colliery in Whitehaven, which shut it down in 1986, would create 500 jobs. Cumbria County councilors gave it the go-ahead in March, but this sparked a number of objections, including a call for government scrutiny. However, ministers have now said that the council should take the decision. Councils have ratified their support for the plans. The Woodhouse Colliery would extract coking coal from the seabed off of St. Bees with a processing plant on the former Marken site at Kells. Again, if CO2 and coal and things that fossil fuels that get burned into our atmosphere were actually the cause of climate change, with everybody around the world saying what a climate disaster we are in right now, a crisis, as some will say, then why are things like this being approved by countries? And by the way, the UK is in this accord for how much longer? Who knows? Handful of countries are actually considering pulling out along with the United States as well. But again, if CO2 and coal and fossil fuels were really the cause, they wouldn't even allow other countries to start new developments of mining coal for burn. And here was where I was talking to you about climate change. You don't believe it, you're excused from the conversation because you don't believe in climate change. The reason why I wanted to show this is because not only do Democrats lie about politics, but they also lie and manipulate certain titles and labels about climate change. And Gavin saying to President Trump, you don't believe in climate change, you are excused from this conversation, is an easy way of confusing the people of the country, the masses, to believe that Donald Trump does not believe that climate is changing. Another false narrative on mainstream social media platforms. Just another example of these clueless lawmakers, these policymakers, and it's scary because it's like they all agree, they all took a vote and said, all right, look, we believe that man-made climate change, Democrats, boom. And then like the conservatives are saying, no, it's not man-made, it's natural. It's really scary that each party has actually picked a side to climate change and they are politicizing it as well. So more things to divide you with here in this silly country at times. Southern soaker may ring out some first snow of the season in parts of the Ohio Valley and Northeast late this week. An expansive area of rain will soak the parts of the South starting on Wednesday. Parts of the Southern Plains could pick up a few inches of rain. Some of this moisture may overlap cold air in the east late this week. This could lead to some first snow of the season in parts of the Northeast. It's too early to determine what, if any, accumulations there might be. And basically, Weather Channel is just saying the setup is there. Here's Thursday night. We're going to see mixed precip. And if you live in Western New York, through upstate New York. Chances are we will see some winter weather. Folks that live out in Dayton, Springfield, Lima, Toledo, Ohio, you guys will see the frozen precip as well. South Bend, Indiana, and Indianapolis with some mixed precip. Everything else below that, though, is going to be a rain. But, temperatures are going to be nasty and raw, especially for Amarillo, Texas. 38 degrees with a chance of freezing rain mixing in parts of the night. And this is what they're thinking by Thursday night. So if you live in the Northeast, Cleveland, Ohio, Akron, Erie, PA, Buffalo, Syracuse, Utica, the upstate New York area, Lake George, you will definitely see some snowfall from this. Now, again, it's going to be light. It's our first snow of the year. We haven't had freezing temperatures except here recently in the past few days. Overnight temps. Taking a look at our national forecast right now here in the U.S. And really the only snow action we got going on is in Edmonton, Alberta. Some scattered snow across that region there. Some in Ontario and Quebec as well. But mostly rain here for the United States. Nothing really to talk about that's, pressing right now. Let's take a look at our GFS outlook here for the 18Z. And we do have quite the pattern to look for, especially across the Great Lakes into the Northeast as well. That's that first system coming through. By Wednesday, some rain showers expected across the Northeast. And then Wednesday night is when we start to see some cold enough temperatures overnight for light snow showers across western New York into Syracuse as well. Snow developing in the Northwest, Montana and the Dakotas. We'll see some light snow shower activity as a quick little burst pushes across the Great Lakes on the 7th of November. And by the late day, November 7th, we are looking at snow for the northern part of Ohio and western New York and rain below that. On November 8th, that snow persists for at least 24 hours across the state of New York. So there might be a chance for some light accumulations, 1 to 3 inches, 3 to 5 in some localized areas by the weekend here. And then Friday, November 8th, some lake effect snow action happening in the south towns of Buffalo as we move through Friday. Another system approaching the northeast from Canada, and more snow across the northwest and the plain states, Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Iowa. But by we get to Sunday evening, that snow line drops down from Canada, and it'll be affecting Chicago, Indiana, Cleveland, Ohio, western New York as well, Buffalo. And by the time we get to Monday morning, that snow picks up a little bit across the entire state of New York. Also, Cleveland, Ohio will see a lot heavier band along with Erie, PA. And by the time we get to late day Monday, the snow finally winds down and some light lake effect snow is possible after that on Tuesday in parts of Erie. And actually, GFS is indicating that Erie, PA could see some persisting lake effect snows here on Monday and Tuesday, with periods dying down and then flaring back up. And then check out some nasty looking weather headed our way by midweek of next week. Those ISO bars, by the way, folks, are pretty tight. That's blustery conditions as this next storm front will make its approach on the Great Lakes by Thursday, November 14th, and pretty much inundate the Michigan and western New York area by the 15th. So next Friday, we're going to deal with some winter weather in the Northeast a couple times this week, and then once a light chance early, and then again at the end of next week, we will see more light snow across western New York and into the Northeast. Again, the GFS is not showing much organization with that particular system. It does not appear to be a big deal. But again, these little quick bursts of snow could bring us an inch or 2 or 3 in a quick amount of time and cause some traffic issues. Road conditions could be treacherous. But guys, this pattern I'm showing you here, this is November 19th, and a pretty nasty storm will be approaching the Ohio Valley. We got to watch this one because right now the track is way north, and places like Chicago will get snow and ice. Lower parts of Michigan, Detroit, could see a pretty significant snow system out of this. And then as we watch it grow up into the Northeast, the rain changes all to snow, heavy snow in upstate New York. So we'll have to watch that region as well. Into Maine by Wednesday, November 20th. So system after system. And then look at the Northeast in Washington, Oregon, Montana, and Idaho. There's another major system to keep our eyes on. Plus, another potential major storm for the Midwest. Parts of Illinois and Iowa showing snow and freezing rain mixing in. Parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin. So lots of weather to talk about. Lots of temperatures staying in the 30s and 40s too in the second half of November. And let's go ahead and check those temperatures just real quickly here. Mari, how's it going tonight?
It is going fantabulous.
Fantabulous.
People have not let go of the cookies. They are expecting them.
We'll email you the cookies.
Do I schedule pickups? How do I arrange these cookies? I don't know. And there's talk of Spanx still. Wasn't that on the other show?
I think
that has not been forgotten, Jake.
Well,
and I guess some are owed to you.
Bands will make her dance.
Perhaps.
I think I was offering a price on the spankings the other time, so
I don't know, but I think
cold temperatures ahead, folks.
It's the snow and the cold that you bring to those who don't want it, Jake.
Let's take a look at European weather while Mari says hello to us in the chat. I'm just showing the maps. Mari, go ahead.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Showing the European
weather.
There we go. Like that. They're supposed to get some snow, aren't they, Jake? Well, let's see what I got. All right. So besides the Cheryl missed the cookies and Spanx episode. She was here for the pie episode. You get talking about food in the chat, and it's very focused on that. So, I have all my notes are about cookies, spanking, and pie. That's all I got.
I'm glad everybody paid attention tonight. Good Lord.
I'd like to say hi to Susan. She usually watches our live shows on the Roku.
Wow.
And she does not usually get a chance to jump in the chat. So, hello, Susan. Welcome to the Crazy Live Chat. We have a lot of comedians in our chat. So, I love all you guys. I don't know if you've had a chance to check out our website. I would like people to participate and sign up on thegrandssolarminimum.com.
Oh, and before I forget, because we have quite a bit of people watching right now, I do want to start the promotion of our show on Friday night, 9 p.m. So we're moving the call-in live show to Saturday night, 9 p.m. We're doing a special show on Friday night. We are going to bring in guest inventor Lee Wheelbarger will be joining us here on the Grand Solar Minimum channel Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be talking to Lee about Grand Solar Minimum, talk about what he first told us back in 2016 and 2017, and kind of compare the events that's happened and compare it to what he said was going to happen, and just kind of catch up with Mr. Lee Wheelbarger. He's been very busy of late. And Lee will join us to have a discussion about Grand Solar Minimum. So if you guys have questions or something you would like to ask Lee, it will be a live show. Possibly we'll be monitoring the chat, or just leave us a message in the comments section for questions for Lee. All right, go ahead, Mari. I just wanted to make sure I threw that out there before I forgot.
No, that's good.
Excited about Friday night.
Last week I forgot to really plug the call-in show, and I don't think people were prepared to call in, so it's good that people now know that we will have a live show call-in on Saturday, and it will be nice to hear from Lee. It's been a while that it's been a few years since he's been on this channel.
And all I can say too is that sometimes it takes that kind of time, and I think people who've been a long time follower of this channel realize that there was some falling out between Lee and I. And it's obviously we have been in communication for a few months now, and we both agree that setting aside our differences, we're both spreading the same message, and you gotta have help when it comes to getting this message out, folks. And one thing I will say about Lee Wheelbarger, he knows his information on Grand Solar Minimum. So.
Well, I think this community, we have seen, not just us, but other people, we've seen a lot of headbutting amongst the same side. And it is sad, and it's concerning to me that does happen. So it is good and refreshing to see wounds heal and people make amends. So I'm happy to have Leon on Friday. I hope the rest of the global cooling / natural cycles / climate skeptics can all get on board, because we are being attacked. We, as one-sided kind of people here, we're being attacked by
Tony Heller
globalist agendas. Social media and mass pick a platform. There's censorship going on. People are being suspended. Accounts are being banned, and it's all the voices that are questioning what the alarmist groups are saying. There's so many fake fact checker websites out there that these social media platforms are using, they're using their articles as a way to debunk things like sea level rise. And when you read their articles, it's nonsense. When they use their articles to try to debunk people like Mark Morano from Climate Depot, or that lovely group of people at Friends of Science, they are being attacked. All of us on the global, let's just simplify it and say climate skeptic / natural cycle side, we're being attacked, and there's not a group really standing in solidarity defending one another, and we have to get together and support one another. So on the website with Tony Heller, I was very, very disappointed to see his Twitter account suspended today for making comments about, I believe it was the fire not being related to climate change. This Friends of Science also has the fact checkers, if you could see my face and my fingers doing the quotes. We all have to come together, and I'm going to be putting Friends of Science, Tony Heller, Mark Morano, I'm going to be pushing them on our website and just trying to get people to support them. We all have to just work together and get their message out, because they're in the forefront of the attacks. Tony Heller recently just went to Washington this week for some kind of climate talk. Do you know exactly what that climate talk was? I don't have the details on it. But anyway, we got to be here for one another. If you want to support Tony while he's on his suspension, please just take his videos from YouTube and share them as much as you can. And I am still not able to post in our Facebook group or comment on our Facebook posts that people post to the group. So you want to help me? Go to thegrandsolarminimum.com and help me start these forums. Post on the forums. You can easily create an account and start posting stuff. And I just, that's my only refuge. I don't really have a place to go. Can't count on social media platforms anymore to use as a pedestal or my soapbox. We have to have a place to voice our views. So I am still very focused on the website. I don't know, Jake, if you've shown it off at all lately, have you?
I haven't, but I know you're still working on it, so there's a time and a place.
It's getting there.
Yep, it definitely is. Is that all you have for me tonight?
Yeah, the
Awesome.
website, I'm putting all our videos from YouTube onto the website, because people from YouTube, well, not from YouTube, but viewers from YouTube are saying that we're not coming up in the search as much, or if we are coming up in the search, they're older videos and not current videos. So hopefully all the new videos going forward will be a post in a category on the main page of our website, which I still have to do a tutorial for. I will do that.
And again, visit our website, thegrandsolarminimum.com. That is thegrandsolarminimum.com. To visit all of our archived shows that we've done in the past, as well as very resourceful tools on crop reports, space weather instruments, you name it, radars. Check the crop reports, find out what's going on as far as harvesting. Very hardworking, resourceful website that Mari has put together for us as well. Don't forget to visit us on our Teespring t-shirt shop. Check out all the GSM merchandise we have, the hoodies, the hats. Get them ready for wintertime, folks. It's going to get cold for sure. That's going to do it for us tonight. Again, excited to have Lee Wheelbarger on Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be back in the morning with another Grand Solar Minimum News update. Until then, everyone have a great evening, and we will talk soon.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform, a t-shirt, or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.